friends, Chubby Meeple back with another Kickstarter preview for you. Today we're going to take a look at Mad Love. This is a two-player cooperative game that's going to play in 10 minutes or so, where you're lost lovers, you're stranded in the dreamscape in kind of a Cthulhu mythos kind of world, and you're trying to find each other before the madness takes hold. Let's jump to the table, I'll show you how it plays, and then I'll come back and tell you what I think of Mad Love. Setting up for a game of Mad Love is very simple. We're going to take all 18 of the cards, we're going to shuffle them together, and you're going to deal out 9 cards to each player. Again, this is a two-player cooperative game, so you're going to be working together to try to find each other in the dreamscape. You've been lost in the dreamscape and you're trying to reconnect and find your love again before the madness creeps in and drives you both insane. So you're working together. You're each going to have a deck of 9 cards. It's going to be your draw deck. You don't want to look at these after they're dealt. Then each player will take the top 2 cards of their deck and can look at them so you can see what cards you have in your hand. So we see these cards here. I've got my love card and I've got the Saturnian cat, and you can see what they do. I'm then going to take these without revealing them to my opponent, and I'm going to place them face down closest to myself, just as I've done here. So we have 2 cards face down. My opponent is, or not my opponent, my partner is going to do the same. They are going to lay 2 cards face down as well without me seeing them. This forms what is called the dreamscape. This dreamscape will always have 4 cards in it. And on my turn, I am going to be either pushing a card to my partner out of the dreamscape and having them play that card, or I'll be able to dismiss a card out. If there's a card that, for instance, I know what these 2 cards are, if there's one of them I don't want to end up in my opponent's hands, I don't want to have to use the action of that card, I can dismiss it out of the dreamscape. It gets discarded, but there's a little bit of luck to that because the top card of my partner's deck is what gets played for its action, and I don't know what that is, so it's random chance. So the first player, now that we've got the game set up, we also have the love and madness meter set up over here, both starting at 0. The object of the game is to get the love meter all the way up to the heart icon before the madness meter reaches the brain icon. If the madness meter maxes out first, we both lose the game. If the love meter maxes out, we found each other in the dreamscape and we've won. We're going to use this player down here as our first player. That player is going to draw 2 cards off of their deck for their hand. The second player is going to have a hand of 1 because we're going to basically be providing the next card to that player. So as the first player, I'm going to take a look at the 2 cards in my hand. So I have a love card and a madness card. The love card bumps up the love meter by 1. The madness card increases madness and has us shuffle our discard piles in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a card from my hand and I'm going to move it in one of 2 ways. So we're going to do the love card because obviously we want to increase the love meter. So we're going to do this card. So I'm going to put this card in the dreamscape. Now I can do that one of 2 ways. I can either start it at the bottom of either one of the columns and then push that column up to my partner. The card that comes out of the dreamscape gets revealed and is played for its action. So whatever that card says happens. My opponent, my partner obviously knows what these 2 cards are. I do not. So there's a chance that it could be something bad, and only my partner knows that at this point. You're not allowed to communicate though. There's no communication, you can't talk. You're lost in the dreamscape, you don't know where the other partner is, so there's no reason to talk. I could also decide to place this card outside the dreamscape on one of the 4 sides, and then push out that direction. The card that comes out gets discarded in my partner's discard pile, and then the top card of their deck is revealed and that action is taken. So, for example, I'm going to put this here, and I know this is a card that I don't want my partner to have because I saw what that was, so we're going to push the dreamscape this way. That's going to discard the Saturnian cat. We turn up the top card of my partner's deck, and they've turned up Nyarlathotep. So this says to discard the dream that's in your hand and draw a new one. So they're simply going to discard this dream. They're going to draw a new one without revealing it to me. And then the card that they just performed the action on gets added to their hand. And it's important to keep note of which card is most recent because when it's now that it's their turn, they have to play their oldest card. So the card that's been in their hand the longest gets added to the dreamscape. Again, they can either push a card to me or they can dismiss a card. So we're going to go ahead and this is actually working out really well because I know what these 2 cards are, and if they push either one of those cards, it's a good thing. So we're going to take this card. Again, I don't know what this is, and we're simply going to push this column to me. The card that comes out of the dreamscape is revealed, and it's a love card. The love meter is increased by 1, so we're simply going to bump that up 1. And then this love card gets added to my hand and is now my oldest card. So now I have to play this card, or is now my newest card. I have to play my oldest card into the Dreamscape. So again, to remind what this is, we've got a Madness card here, not necessarily a good thing, but I'm going to be throwing this in here. Now I know what this card is because I've played this. I know this is a love card, so if I were to come here and push out, I'd be throwing a love card away. That's not good. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this Madness card here, and I'm going to push this column toward my partner so that on my next turn I can then, as long as they don't dismiss this card, I can push another love card their way. So we're going to push this entire column up. They're going to reveal this card, and unfortunately I gave them a Madness card. Madness increases the Madness meter, so I'm going to grab this Madness meter. We're going to bump it up 1. And there's also an icon on this card that indicates that everybody has to shuffle their discard pile back into their deck. I don't have a discard pile. However, my partner does. They have the Saturnian Cat and the Cthulhu that got discarded earlier. So those just get shuffled back into their draw pile. And the Madness card that is sitting on the table face up that was just played now gets added to my partner's hand. So there's a little bit of strategy here where a little bit of memorizing what cards have come into your partner's hand, what's coming next, and kind of memorizing, okay, well, I gave them this card. I saw that love card, for example, go into their hand. I know it's not coming this time, but on their next turn, that's the card that's going in. So then you can kind of map out in the Dreamscape where that love card landed, and you can, kind of plan out your strategy. At the start of the game, it's pretty random. You're not quite sure what's happening. You're not quite sure what's there, which makes sense thematically because you've just landed in the Dreamscape and you don't know where your partner is. You're not really sure what's going on. You're not sure what madnesses and terrors are out there. One of the neat things about this is, now that I've been talking, if this was a standard game or a lot of other games out there, I'd be like, okay, I have no idea whose turn this is. It's very easy to tell whose turn it is because one player will always have one card in their hand while the other player has 2. If you have 2 cards in your hand, it's your turn. And again, you have to play your oldest card. So we're just going to take the card that's on top, and we're simply going to push. We're going to push this direction. So my partner doesn't know what that card is. We do. And we have Nyarlathotep. So I have to discard the dream that's in my hand, so I have to discard this love card, and I have to draw a new card. And now I've drawn a Madness card. So I've drawn Madness instead, and Nyarlathotep becomes my newest card that gets added to my hand. So now I'm pushing something. Remember, we pushed here so that we could push a love card closer. So I'm going to take this card. We're going to push this closer to my partner. This card's going to come out, and as we suspected, it's a love card, so we bump the love meter up. And this is going to continue in this, either pushing cards to your partner or dismissing cards out of the Dreamscape until either the love meter maxes out at the heart icon or the Madness meter maxes out at the brain icon. Once one of those things happens, the game is over, and depending on which meter is maxed out, if love got maxed out, we've won. If Madness gets maxed out, we have lost. So that's a quick, brief overview of Mad Love. This is coming from Imp House Game Company, seeking funding on Kickstarter, of course. A nice 2-player co-op game that plays in about 10 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes, if that. It's a very fast-playing game. You can shuffle up and play again very quickly. 18 cards. What do I think of it? First of all, it plays very quickly, as I've said. I really like the art style of it. It's got kind of it's a different art style than what I've seen in a lot of other games. It's not dark and gruesome and gross like a lot of Cthulhu Mythos can be, but it's not overly cartoony either. The artist strikes a really nice balance in capturing the world without it being too lighthearted and too dark at the same time. So very cool there. I will say there's not a lot of strategy in the game. There's some randomness to it, especially at the beginning, because you know your 2 cards, you don't know what your partner's 2 cards are. So there's a little bit of randomness there, a little bit of luck. You play that first card, you can always, if you know you've put down 2 bad cards, you can always dismiss one of them, right at the start of the gate. But if you've put down a couple of cards, maybe you've put down 2 love cards, you don't want to dismiss either one of those. So now you're taking a chance to push a card toward your opponent, or toward your partner. I keep saying opponent, toward your partner, and having them play one of the cards that they put down. Now, if they've put down 2 bad cards that don't spell, maybe you've put down 2 love, but they've put down 2 madness. So who knows? But as the game goes on, if you're paying attention to what your partner's doing, you're going to see those cards, because those cards get revealed so everyone can see what that card is before it goes into your partner's hand. And the same for the cards that come to you, whether they're coming out of the Dreamscape or they're coming off of the top of your draw deck. You and your partner both see that card before it goes into your hand. So it's just simply a matter of remembering, okay, I just saw that love card go in their hand. They're going to play one more card, and then the love card's going to get played, unless something switches that up, of course. There are cards that randomize the Dreamscape. There's a card that has you pick up the 4 cards of the Dreamscape, shuffle them up, and randomly distribute them. So it does mix some things up and cause some chaos is there. I will say I've played this game, a good, couple dozen times now because it plays so quickly, and I'm about 50-50 on winning with it. I would say 50-50, maybe more 60-40, toward the winning side. But it's not a deep strategy game, so you're not, you're literally, you're not looking at the 2 cards in your hand and choosing one to play. The rules state that you play the card that's been in your hand the longest. So the one that just got added to your hand is not the one that you play. You have to play the other card. And so your strategy's not coming there. Your strategy is coming from memorizing what cards have been played into the Dreamscape by your partner and also by yourself, so that you know what makes a better choice of, do I dismiss cards and dump this bad card out of the Dreamscape, or do I push something toward my partner? Because I know 2 turns ago they just grabbed a love card. That's got to be the card that's there. I'm going to push that over and bump this love meter up. So a lot of the strategy comes from the memorization aspect of the game. Overall, very light game. It's not going to be a staple of a game night, that's for sure. But again, it's a game that gives you a quick, 10-15 minute gameplay with a partner. Maybe sitting down. You're sitting at a restaurant. Playing cards while you're waiting on food to show up, and you're playing a quick little game. You can do it 10 or 15 minutes and be done before the appetizer gets to the table. So or maybe it's a game you want to get out and play, something light, leading up to a full game night while you're waiting on others to arrive. Definitely check this out. There's a link down in the description of this video to the Kickstarter page. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer those as best I can. But definitely I would check Mad Love out. It's a light game. Again, it's not going to be a game night staple. It's not overly complex, not overly strategic, not overly thinky. But it is a nice little lighthearted game if you want something co-op that sets up and plays really quickly and you can put it away quickly. 18 cards is all you really need. So that's Mad Love, again from Imp House Game Company on Kickstarter now. And until next time, keep gaming, friends.